The 2003 Iraq War, from the start of the invasion to when U.S. forces entered Baghdad, it took just 21 days. After the 1991 Gulf War and years of sanctions, Saddam's so-called million-strong army was already a shadow of its former self. The outcome was never in doubt. On the Iraqi side, the few moments that really caught the world's attention came from their information minister, Mohammed Said al-Sahaf. For 21 straight days, from the start of the war until U.S. forces had basically taken over Baghdad, Sahaf showed up at daily press briefings, entertaining the world with his one-of-a-kind rhetoric. In his version of events, the Iraqi army never lost a battle. Even when U.S. tanks were just a few hundred meters away, Sahaf stayed calm, insisting that Baghdad was completely secure and that the US-UK coalition had come to surrender. He became a legend in winning at all costs circles. Whether Sahaf genuinely didn't know what was going on or was fully aware and just spouting nonsense, no one could tell, but he had a real knack for it. Born in 1940 in southern Baghdad to a Shiite family, Sahaf studied journalism at Baghdad University and originally planned to become an English teacher. In 1963, he joined the Arab Socialist Ba'ath Party, gave up teaching, and started working as a low-level broadcasting official. Later, he served as Iraq's ambassador to Sweden, Myanmar, the UN, and Italy. In 1992, he was recalled to Baghdad to become foreign minister. Under Saddam, top positions were dominated by Sunnis from his hometown, while Sahaf was a Shiite outsider. Even as a senior official, he was still considered the other guy. Iraq had just come out of the Gulf War, was isolated internationally, and under heavy sanctions, Sahaf didn't have much to do and was mostly idle. He was removed from office in 2001 and reassigned as information minister, a role more in line with his background. On March 20, 2003, a US-led coalition invaded Iraq without UN approval, citing weapons of mass destruction. The two sides were so mismatched that the war was one-sided. If anyone could claim to be winning on the Iraqi side, it was Sahaf. During the war, his daily briefings were the world's only window into Iraq's official side, drawing global media attention. As the saying goes, great horses run on their legs, great men on their mouths. Sahaf was a master of the latter. Every day, dressed in olive green with a beret, he faced reporters with simple language, colorful vocabulary, and endless tirades against the invading US-UK forces and their leaders. It was one thing to criticize the coalition, but Sahaf's war reports were completely detached from reality, nonsense delivered with deadpan seriousness. Western media nicknamed him Baghdad Bob. Early in the war, Sahaf claimed that coalition forces would never return from Iraq. As US troops neared Baghdad, he insisted the city was safe and that the Americans were being slaughtered outside. When reporters mentioned US tanks entering the outskirts of Baghdad, Sahaf dismissed it as Hollywood theatrics and suggested the journalists see an eye doctor. As the Iraqi army crumbled, US forces entered the city, Saddam disappeared, and top officials either fled or surrendered. Sahaf, however, stayed at his post, calmly addressing the press with bizarre statements. Baghdad was fortress-like, the Americans had been allowed in on purpose, and they had come to surrender. He even assured that they would be treated well because they were tricked into fighting. Sahaf's surreal briefings added a bizarre comedic element to an otherwise brutal war, turning him into a global viral sensation. Even President George W. Bush joked that the first thing he did after work was watch Sahaf's statements. Clearly, Sahaf was using propaganda to uphold Saddam's authority and boost morale, but he was wildly out of touch with reality. In Saddam's Iraq, bad news often got people punished, creating a system of self-deception. Sahaf's last public appearance was on April 8, by which time US forces controlled most of Baghdad, yet he continued delivering briefings, claiming the Americans would either surrender or be burned alive in their tanks, while US tanks were literally only about 300 meters away. The next day, Baghdad fell completely, and Sahaf had no choice but to flee. He was soon captured by US forces. Since he had only been making outrageous statements and hadn't committed crimes, he was released after a few days. In June of that year, dressed in civilian clothes, Sahaf gave an interview to an Arab TV channel, reportedly earning $200,000. No wonder people joked that he was the true winner of the war. In the interview, he was quiet, answering mostly yes or no, and avoided commenting on Saddam's fall. The once-mocked information minister suddenly seemed a tragic figure, a perfect example of the old adage that comedy often has a tragic core. As the Iraq war shifted into an insurgency, Sahaf's fame faded. Later reports say he lived in the UAE and died in Dubai in 2021.